Hello everyone, and it is time for UCCampbell's paper review for TNA Sacrifice 2011. Let me go off and first off and say that this pay-per-view was better than TNA Lockdown was. But of course that's not actually saying much with how bad that pay-per-view actually was last month. I would put this pay-per-view under an okay category, and this is mostly because I did not feel like I was watching anything special. I did not feel like I would be paying to watch what I was watching tonight. It felt like I was just watching another episode of Impact in the Impact Zone. Of course, they didn't go away from the Impact Zone. They don't have to every month, but it seems that if you're going to be putting a pay-per-view up there, you should be doing something a little bit more special than what was given tonight. You had a lot of okay matches in there. You had one match with Robbie E and Kendrick that didn't even need to be on the show to begin with, but yet it was there. And also, and to go on with that, it was an extremely boring match. I mean, they tried their hardest to entertain, but it just didn't come off as a very good match. It felt extremely boring. But all in all, most of the matches were okay or really good. It didn't feel like there was any bad matches on the show outside of the Kendrick and Robbie E match. It didn't feel like you were watching anything special. You didn't feel like you were watching something that you would pay money to see. It felt like you were just watching another cable television episode of Impact tonight. But all in all, storylines will at least be pushed further, and we'll hopefully have a better. Hopefully, there will be a better month coming up in the future for TNA. Probably best match of the night, or at least in my view, best match of the night was the Kazarian Max Buck match. It started off a little bit slow, but towards the end, it was a really good match and extremely well done. But outside of that, you had a lot of there was a lot of filler time going in there, which is weird for having 9 matches on the card. That you would have filler time. I don't know why they had Karen and Jeff try to pull a BS way out of the match on the pay-per-view. This is something they should have been trying, you know, on Thursday or something like that. But yet they come out there and use up about 10 minutes of time for Karen to try to sell an ankle injury, and then eventually Mick Foley coming out and calling BS on it, and there you go. You still have the match you still have the match going, but why do that on the pay-per-view? You do that in my view, and once again my personal opinion. That is something you would do on an Impact show, not on the pay-per-view itself. People are paying money to see the action take place in the ring. They're not paying money for the skits to happen in the ring, to further the storyline of the match right then and there. If you're doing skits in the ring, usually you're doing skits in the ring with somebody who's not even part of the pay-per-view that night to try to further a storyline for possibly the next pay-per-view. But yet you have 2 people who are on the show already later in a match, and they're trying to get out of the match, which it never happens. So I thought it was just a complete waste of time there. And also, it was extremely weird, you know, like I said before, there was no reason for the Robbie E Kendrick match, but it was on the pay-per-view, yet you saw them, but you didn't have Daniels or Anderson in a match of some kind, because they had been. Anderson I can see mostly because he had been trying to run the feud with Sting, and that's going to happen next month. But Daniels could have done something with Immortal, because he had pretty much been part of Fortune the entire time, and he could have. And since Tommy Dreamer was taking on AJ, maybe Daniels could have taken on Bully Ray instead. But there you go. You don't really even have Daniels on the show for all of 10 seconds, and he's one of the people that they had just brought back in, and yet he should be, in my view, should be on the pay-per-view in a match, and yet he's on there for about a good 10 seconds. Also, I mean, I know he his storyline with the Pope is done, but where's Samoa Joe? I mean, he had something with a very small part, but he had something with Crimson and the Abyss match going. Why is he not trying to further that by at the least coming out after the match and maybe not challenging him, but having a stare down with Crimson after the match? But yet that doesn't happen at all. The Kurt Angle, China, Jeff Jarrett, Karen Angle match. It was a good match. It served its purpose tonight. And honestly, like I said, it was actually well done, well paced, extremely. It was one of those matches that was done well and it served its purpose. Other matches that were on the good end, I thought the Mickie James Madison Rayne match was a bit cluttered with how it was running, but somewhat well done, and it probably fell in the okay area. On the aspect of Mickie James keeping the title, it at least frees Tara from the whole Madison Rayne storyline to possibly chase after Mickie for the title. So hopefully we could be seeing some good matches out of that as well. None of the titles change hands, which I found extremely odd. I thought they would have one title change hands, but the Beer Money the Beer Money versus Matt Hardy and Chris Harris match, it was okay. It wasn't bad. It was bad. It was bad enough that you saw Chris Harris running from James Storm the entire match. I figured that would be something you would do in an Impact match and not a pay-per-view match, but that's what they went with. Like I predicted, I thought Beer Money was going to win. They did win, and hopefully this will lead up to a better storyline, hopefully with Jeff Hardy coming back in and actually having the Hardys versus Beer Money. That should be an interesting matchup to see, and it should be a good storyline if they decide to go that way. The main event was with Sting and RVD for their world title. It was good. It wasn't great. I didn't think you were seeing anything special when you saw the match. Also, they botched the ending, so Sting had to redo the move. But like I said, it was a good match. It wasn't bad. Overall, you didn't really see anything bad on the pay-per-view. You just didn't see anything great. You didn't really see anything special. You didn't. Honestly, I wouldn't be overly disappointed that I would spend my money on this, but I wouldn't be overly excited. I would be a little bit disappointed that I did spend money on this pay-per-view. It was an okay pay-per-view. I would probably give this about a 6 out of 10 on a 10 scale for that. But like I said, it wasn't bad. It wasn't great. It was just okay. This was my paper review. Next week I'll be doing another one of these with Over the Limit. We'll see if they can. It's going to be a little bit weird because it's going to be about 3 weeks after the last pay-per-view. I don't have good feelings for it at the moment, but you never know what will happen with the actual pay-per-view when it actually airs. So this was my paper review for TNA Sacrifice. Thank you for watching and have a nice day.